the uvea. And then what will separate the uvea from the retina is that line, which is actually composed of simple columnar epithelium. And because the epithelium is colored with melanin pigment, what is the specific name of that epithelium? Okay, because it is colored with melanin pigment, it is called
RPE.
the pigmented epithelium. Okay, separating the retina from the outer uvea. Now, let us study now the histology of the retina. What are the three types of cells that can be seen in the retina? Bipolar neurons, what else?
Photoreceptors.
Ganglion cells, and the photoreceptor cells, which are the rod cells and
Cones.
the cone cells. Now, what we will be able to see here will only be the nucleus or the nuclei of the three types of cells mentioned. Okay? Immediately, at the vicinity of the pigmented epithelium are those nuclei. There are those cells which are actually the photoreceptor cells, the rod cells, and the cone cells. Have you discussed the physiology of vision?
Yes.
Okay? So, kunyari, nandito yung lens. Okay? The function of the lens is to focus the light that has entered the eyeball. So, that pagdating dito sa retina, visual stimulus is actually captured by a chemical reaction which is specifically called. That chemical reaction will cause the transformation of vitamin A in the rods and in the cones. What do you call that? Bleaching. Okay? Bleaching.
Bleach.
Bleach.
As in bleach.
Okay? Bleaching occurs not in the superficial layer of the retina but at the outer layer of the retina. Nandyan yung vitamin A or retinaldehyde sa rods and cones. And then that bleaching process will generate an action potential which will be transmitted from the rods and cones and then to the cell body and then to the next cell layer. How do you call that cell? The bipolar neurons. Okay, so action potential will be generated first here. Unfortunately, we will not be able to see anymore the actual appearance of the rods and cones. Basta nandyan siya in between the nucleus of the photoreceptor cells and how do you call that pointed structure?
RPE.
Pigmented epithelium.
Retinal pigmented.
So, nandyan yung rods and cones. So, action potential is generated here and then propagated in the cell body and then transmitted to the bipolar neurons. And then, the bipolar neurons will transmit the visual stimulus action potential to
Ganglion cells.
the ganglion cells. Okay, those are the ganglion cells at the anterior-most layer of the retina. And then, what is the significance of the ganglion cells? The axons of the ganglion cells will eventually aggregate with each other to form what nerve?
Optic nerve.
The optic nerve. Okay? So let us follow the path. Okay? So by photoreceptor cells and then bipolar neurons and then ganglion cells. So although we cannot see anymore the actual appearance of their axons, pero nasa surface ng axons nila. And then, okay, and then sa surface ng retina ang axons, which are aggregating with each other, and then eventually the axons will form that nerve, which is called
Optic
the
nerve.
optic nerve. Why is that portion, the optic disc or the optic papilla, considered as the blind spot of the eye? Very good. As you can notice, hanggang dyan lang yung, ayan yung, tawag nito, Ganglion, bipolar cells, rod cells, cone cells. Pagdating sa optic disc, wala nang rod cells and cone cells. So that wala na ngayong magka-capture ng visual stimulus sa optic disc. So we are seeing the optic nerve in its longitudinal or cross-sectional view.
Longitudinal.
Longitudinal view. Okay, do not be confused when you are studying this slide later, nadi-detach usually ang uvea. Or sometimes, the retina is detached from the uvea. Or actually, they should be adherent with each other. Now, there is a portion of the retina wherein the photoreceptor cells, the bipolar neurons and the ganglion cells will not be present. So, in this part of the retina. So, this non-photoreceptor portion is separated from the photoreceptor portion of the retina by that, at that point, that pointed area is called
Fovea.
the ora.
Ay, ora serrata.
Ora serrata. And then, na-discuss na natin ang anterior chamber, no?
Yes.
That space is posterior chamber. Then the biggest space, vitreous cavity, or the vitreous chamber, which is occupied by what fluid? Vitreous. So for the histology of the lacrimal gland, what is the product of the lacrimal gland?
Tears.
The lacrimal gland is a compound tubulo-acinar gland. So, being compound tubulo-acinar, the secretory portions or the acini are grouped into lobules. So that is one lobule, and this is another lobule, and this is another lobule. And then any duct that is seen inside a lobule is called an interlobular duct or an intralobular duct. Okay, intra, sa loob man, such as that duct. What type of epithelium is lining the acini?
Cuboidal.
Okay, simple.
Cuboidal. Yeah.
Okay, so that, notice how low the epithelial cells are as compared to the epithelial cells lining the acinus. Okay. So, intralobular duct. And then the ducts which are outside of the lobule, such as that duct, is called
Interlobular.
Okay, so that should be it for this slide discussion. So you may now borrow your microscopes and